Welcome to the video. John Bodine here with Redemptive Psych, and in this video we are digging into individual typing vectors, going over them one by one. In this video we're talking about the abstract and the concrete typing vector. Now, abstract or conceptual is another word for the intuitive, for the use of high intuition. All of the 8 abstract types are the same as the 8 intuitive types, the 4 idealists, the NFs, and the 4 rationals, the NTs. The concrete types, likewise, are made up of all the S types. These are the SP artisans and the SJ guardians. Those 8 are naturally more concrete. Now, the most important idea here to understand is this symbol or these phrases here. The concrete and the abstract chase each other. Just as all of these traits are dynamic, we cross this border every day from both directions. The concrete types can produce some ideation, can produce some conceptual understanding, just as the intuitive types can produce and grow into some sensory observation, some detailed understanding, and an awareness of the environment. Now, the 8 abstract types, the general rule of thumb here is that they move from the general, from the big picture, from the idea, from the concept, from the possibility. They start there and then they move to the specific. Okay, with that in place, with that idea, with that image, with that pursuit, how do we then make it real? Or how is it relevant to personal experience I've had? Or how is it relevant to this or that observation I've made? It starts with the idea and then it moves into the specifics, into the details. Inversely, the concrete types, they build up to ideas, to concepts, to possibilities from a plethora of personal experience. One of the best ways to understand this is looking at the SJs. The SJs have high introverted sensing, high SI. This is my experience, my duty, my role within the world around me. Now, attached to that, in a lower slot, they have a little bit of extroverted intuition. That is, okay, based on what I've been through, based on my past experiences, what are the possibilities going forward? It's something like, probably like an 80-20 rule. They look at so much of their life experience, so much of what they've been through, and then they use that to project a little bit into the future. Okay, this might be possible, that might be possible. I'm going to prepare for that based on what I've been through. That is moving from the specific, from my personal experience, towards what is general, towards the idea, towards the possibility. For the SPs, it's similar, but it's a slight variation. They focus on the present around them. It's not as much about my past. It's more about, okay, what's around in my environment. And from all that data, they, with lower introverted intuition, they use their extroverted sensing to think about a path forward, to think about their path forward through the environment. So the mechanic is similar. They are moving, all the concrete types, all the S types, move from a sensing function into an intuition function. But it's probably like an 80-20 thing where they rely 80% on their sensing, and then through that they can build up to some intuition. Now, going over more specifically for the intuitive types, it doesn't break down the exact same way. The idealists are made up of 2 introverted intuition and 2 extroverted intuition. So instead, we have to cut a little bit across. All the NJs, the INFJ, ENFJ, INTJ, and ENFJ, they are high introverted intuition users. So it's like they start with an idea of what I want. Okay, that's my future, that's my possibility, that's the path forward for me. Once they decide on an option for them, or once they contemplate what might be best, then they use their lower extroverted sensing, which is external sensing, to see what is the next step in the environment around me. How do I move toward that image, move toward that future with what is readily available to me? Now, the NP types, this is the INFP, ENFP, INTP, and ENTP, they are high in extroverted intuition. This is external possibilities, external consequences. Now, they think through the possibilities first. They generate some ideas. They see some ways it could go badly. They might see some ways it could go well. They might see what's necessary for that. And then they think about their life experience. It's like the inverse of the SJs. The NPs start with the idea, with the possibility, and then dig into their life experience for relevant information, whereas the SJs are inverse. They start with all their life experience, and then they think about a couple possibilities. The NPs, all the extroverted intuition users' ability to predict what might happen or see the best possibilities are tied directly to their personal experience, a concept which we'll discuss in more detail in a later video. But that is a general breakdown of how the different concrete and abstract types access both their primary intuition or sensing and then move towards the other side. So here's some phrases or words attached to abstraction, concepts, possibilities. Remember, they start with the general and then they go to the specific. Ideas, theories. Theories is especially relevant to the NT types. They are, and the NTPs especially, they are always theorizing. And then it's a bigger focus on the what if or the what will be. This is a combination of exploration, like what might be, what could be, and then what will be, a more directive future orientation. Likewise, with the concrete types, they deal more in experiences. What did I experience? What did they experience? What are the details of those experiences? The SJs are more autobiographical, talking about their past and their life, their perspective from the experience. The SPs capture more the reactions in the room, the reactions of an experience, and they share stories to get a reaction, to put on a show. It's kind of an entertainment starting point. That's one of the motives they have when they share with other people. So it's experiences, it's details, it's observations about what happened, what the reactions were, etc. And then it's much more of a focus on what is or what was. What is a little bit more towards the SP, toward the artisan temperament. What was is a little bit more towards the guardian temperament. But again, those can twist and turn into each other. Okay, we need to be careful when applying this to people, to analyzing their communication, to understanding where they're coming from. There's a couple things to watch out for. Number one, academic concrete types. These are intellectual or academic-like types that may look abstract because their interest might be academic, and academic is a little more associated with the mind and therefore a little more abstraction. There are a lot of sensing types, not a lot, but there are a good amount of sensing types within academic communities. This is especially the case for high extroverted thinking concrete types. That is the ISTJ and the ESTJ. I had an ESTJ philosophy professor in college. That is not uncommon. It is not super rare. You will find professors, you will find teachers of the STJ variety. This is linked to high extroverted thinking, to a concrete type with high extroverted thinking. High extroverted thinking is a memorization of ideas. It's a memorization of knowledge. It's like a compartmentalization, a distillation of ideas or knowledge, not so much for exploration, but for memory. It's a hard drive of ideas. It can look like abstraction. So a philosophy professor, which is, philosophy is like the most abstract of any major study, they can look abstract because they have memorized the different theories and they employ their knowledge of that theories to teach and guide. It's not abstract, it's still concrete, but obviously in that situation, it's going to cross that border more frequently. So watch out for people who are academic-like. They don't have to be a professor, but it's likely going to be an ISTJ or ESTJ with that high extroverted thinking that can look like an intuition type. Inversely, consider the intuitive, performance-oriented types. This is like an NTP actor. A lot of ENTPs are actors. It's associated more with an attention-grabbing, a detail-oriented profession. It's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of actors who are ENTPs. Michael Jackson, many think, was an INFP. He doesn't look like an INFP with all that performance, all that sensory input, right? But many think he was an INFP, so keep an eye on that. There are a lot of intuitive types who move into these acting, into these singing, into sports that kind of confuse the common traits associated with abstract and concrete types. And lastly, practicing. I said this in a previous typing video. Start with the extremes. Search out the most abstract person you can find. This might be like an Eastern philosopher, like an Eckhart Tolle or an Alan Watts, someone of that nature where you can see, okay, that person is like obviously abstract. Like they are so abstract, they are so far removed from reality. They're definitely on the far end of the spectrum, right? And likewise, find someone who like can only talk about what is and has a lot of resistance to talking about ideas or concepts. It's not real to them. Seek out that. And then through those extreme distinctions, your ability to grow more nuanced understanding will grow from there, and be able to see and interpret more dynamic versions of these traits. Also, discern preferences. Like I said, people jump around these traits. They use ideas to get to the concrete. They use the collection of concrete to get to the idea. Identify their preference. What is their starting point? What does their frame of mind go back to? When they're comfortable, how are they talking? Things like that. And lastly, distinguish context. If someone's offering a criticism, they're criticizing certain things, they're telling you what's wrong with it, that can be confusing because a high TI user, someone like an INTP or an ENTP, they are criticizing the details, right? But is the context something of a more abstract, a conceptual nature, a what if, or a more visceral, experiential nature? Being able to distinguish that, being able to see how the judgment functions, the T functions and the F functions, take on certain flavors of abstract or concrete. In general, I find that the NFPs with high FI and high extroverted intuition seem the most abstract, whereas the TI users who are abstract can seem a little more concrete because of their criticism, their ability to criticize the details of a certain idea or situation. So those are some things to be aware of for your exploration if you want to apply this to your own skill set. So that's typing in short when it comes to abstract or concrete. This is a very important vector. It's one of the easier ones to identify once you get a little bit of practice. And like we talked about, once you can figure out what someone is, you've already eliminated half the types, and that is a great start with just a single vector. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.